Hello and welcome to the third video of the code breakdown series. Today we're going to be creating a set of tools for our Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. I'm thinking I'm going to have to break it up into a few videos to hold it all, but that'll be fun. So the first thing you need to do is open up your main mod file and know where you want all the files for the tools. I'll have a link in the description containing all these files. I've taken the liberty of going through, taking all the tool files, and then modifying them so that way you can create your own without editing base classes. So you're just going to copy all these into the same directory. So I'm going to put them all in tutorial item. So now they're all in here. And you can change the names of them, you can change the enum that we're using, but that's all up to you. So then what you're going to basically do is you're going to create a set of the same item, or a bunch of picks. So I'm going to call it pick Ruby. And from the metadata tutorial, I changed Emerald because I totally didn't think of it then, because Emerald already exists in Minecraft. I changed it to Topaz. I don't know, I just thought it still works. So we're gonna have to go change that in the source code. Oh, yeah, that's easier. Okay, so then we're gonna name it pick Ruby, and then you're gonna copy this for as many sets as you want. The tools themselves cannot be metadatas. As I mentioned in the metadata tutorial, the metadatas are already in each tool. It's how many uses it has, so you can't create metadata tools, sadly. But you can use metadata items to create tools, and it doesn't matter that much. So we're going to create that, and so there we go. So we're getting errors on this. What is it? Oh, add arguments. Yes. So right here we're going to name enum tutorial material. That's what I named it. As you can see over here, enum tutorial material. But you can name it whatever you would like. But you have to change it in all of the tool classes because they all call it. So then you go, you add a period, and then you select. I've already added these three. We'll go over what they do later, but just select it for now. And I'm going to copy this for all of them, so I don't have to do it later. And beauty of Eclipse is if you hit period, if you go back one and hit period again, it shows them all, so that way you don't have to type it out. And there we go. Okay. So now we got our tools set up, and so technically they should work, but I'm not gonna just give you guys the code. I'm gonna give it to you, but I'm also going to show you how it works. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to name them. We're gonna add the shovels later, and so once again, have Eclipse automatically fill it out for you. And what you can do is you can start typing. So I'm going to start typing pick, and then I'm going to go down one. And basically, the way you do it for each one is the same. So I'm going to change it to Ruby pick Sapphire. Should just do that. Pick Topaz. Okay. So now you got them all named. We haven't added crafting recipes yet. I'll do that probably towards the end. But now we're going to go into the code. So basically it starts out with item tool, which is extends item. You don't need to worry about anything in here. The only thing you would potentially have to change is this right here, enum tutorial material, and it right here. You might have to call it like whatever you want later on, but basically this isn't a class that's an actual item. It's a class that's used by item classes. So we can close that down. Now we're creating picks, right? So this is the pick file. Basically, this blocks effective against kind of explains itself. This is a list of blocks that the pick is like mines quickly, and yeah, there's other, like, you can add blocks to it, but you can add more or less, whatever you want. Then this is basically the constructor. This is when you call item new pick. This is how it knows the item ID is right here, and the material, which is Ruby, Sapphire, or Topaz. Then we have a block can harvest. the harvest level equals 3. There are 3 levels to picks, 1, 2, and 3. And as you noticed, like wood picks, they can mine, for instance, stone and stuff, but they can't mine diamond ore. Diamond ore is a harvest level 2. Obsidian is a harvest level 3. And there are ways you can set your blocks to what harvest level, but this is not a block tutorial. But here it just shows, and if you have custom blocks that you want to add to it, just look at the way it's done over here and add your own. And then this one, this is where I was saying you can add them. In your blocks, when you set the material, it's telling what materials it's effective against. So if I set a custom block to material iron, it will still be effective against it. And so it's kind of a nice thing, but since you created the class, you don't really need that as much, but you want to keep it in there. And so that's basically it for the picks. Like I said, now we are going to create the other ones. So we have shovel and axe, and we'll get to sword last because sword is a little more, it's a little different than these. The shovels and axes, the classes are basically the exact same, just different blocks that it's effective against. And there's probably more effective ways to do it, but I'm doing it the way Minecraft has been doing it, and so I called it new axe. Oh, okay, I accidentally clicked the link, so don't worry about that. And then item new shovel. Unlike Minecraft, I don't call my shovels spades. I don't know why, I just don't like doing it like that. Okay, so now that we renamed all the classes, you do not need to change sapphire to a sapphire shovel. This one sapphire will cover all the tools and the sword, but you do need to change it over here. So let's get rid of all of this. And in just a second, we'll have, in this tutorial, I'm just going to let you guys know now, I'm not doing a hoe. A hoe is very simple to do, and you can do it the same way I've been showing you how to do pick and axe and all that. So if you really need to figure it out, just go look in the hoe code and then do it like I'm doing pick. So now we're going to look at the axe and the shovel. Like I said, these classes are very similar. Blocks effective against the constructor, and here's one that the shovel or the pick has as well, but the pick is way bigger. Can harvest. If you want it to do this tool to always be able to harvest no matter what the level is, just do block equals block dot snow or block snow, and basically this just allows I can remove that. This just tells it what blocks it can harvest. For instance, the sword can harvest web that other tools can't harvest, and that's where that's used. Okay, now on to axe. Axe, like I said before, basically the same thing. Blocks effective against the constructor and the materials it works best against. And we'll save that. And so there we go. That's basically it. Very simple classes. So now you created all of these, and we're going to now add names to them real quick. Oh, one too many. We did shovel. Okay. This tutorial is very tedious. It's not hard, it's just a lot of copy and pasting the correct things. Okay, last set, shovel. Okay, I'll do a cut right before I show you, and I'll insert some of my own personal tool textures. Those aren't going to be the real ones, so don't worry about the colors on that later on. Okay, so we got this all working. Now we're going to add our sword. The sword is basically the hardest one, and it's not that hard. So let's look at the class. What it is unlike the other ones which extend item tool, items or item new sword doesn't. It creates everything itself. So we'll go down the list. This is the constructor. What this does is all of the tools have this set max. Sorry about that, guys. My mic just fell off my desk. Okay, so Okay, so what this does is it sets how many can stay in the stack like we did in the potion tutorial. All tools need to be 1, otherwise it'll break down the tools, and when you separate them, it'll be all weird, so don't. And then basically all this constructor does is it gets information from the enum class, or I nicknamed it material, and sets it to variables, so that way you can call it later on. So we're going to go down this, just basically this function is used by other things to get the weapon damage, or how much damage it does versus entities. Like, so when you hit a mob, how much damage it does. Over here, you've seen this before in item pick, item axe, and shovel. This one's a little more confusing though. Basically, it has multiple speeds. So what it does is it's effective against all these materials and this material, or this block. But for the web block, it goes 15 times faster than normal. That's allowing you to break the web in a normal amount of time. The next thing is hit entity. This is called whenever you hit a living creature or mob or whatever with the sword. It'll call this. Basically, it adds damage to your item. So if you were to remove this line right here, your item would not get damaged. You can add other things later on, like adding potion effects on mobs, but that'll be in a different tutorial. So on block destroyed, obviously when a block is destroyed, it calls this, and it gives damage to your item. But instead of giving it 1, so if you set your max uses to 2,000, you can break 2,000 or hit a mob 2,000 times, it will minus 2. Because you're using on an improper material, because the sword's not technically supposed to be used to break things. Next thing is get damage versus entity. This was the one that I first mentioned up here, but wasn't correct. Basically, this is used by different classes to get the weapon damage. If you look up here, it's a private integer. Private means that other classes cannot call it, so that's why you add functions like this, so that way it can still get the same number of the integer without changing, because if you were to make this public, other classes can add to it, and that can mess things up. Next one down here, basically, this is full 3D. It always needs to be true, otherwise the game will just crash. I don't know why they added it. They should just default be true, but this lets it be a 3D item in your hand. Right here is interesting. This is the enum action. We looked at this in the potion tutorial. We had it on drink, so you drink the item, because technically the action doesn't remove the item. It just plays a little animation. But for swords, you add the block, and it, like, when you right click, it brings the sword in front of you. You've probably seen it before. Next one, get max item use duration. Don't really mess with this. If you want it to be faster, you can move it down to, like, I don't know, 50,000. But this is how long, when you hit it, how long it, like, is in use. But the time, I don't know how relevant this is to seconds. So, yeah. This is another one, on item right click. What it does is, it just sets the item in use for this amount of time, and that's about it. Basically, when you right click with it and do the block attack, it makes it so you can't attack with it for this length of time. Next one is, like up here, this one allows you to break the block faster. This one down here allows you to receive the item, like the pick uses this to get obsidian, while other picks don't. But it allows you to get string from the web block. Next one, get enchantability. These you don't want to mess with, because these are calling the tool material up here, which is the enum tutorial material, which if you were using a different one, you need to change. But basically, it's getting integers that are private from this, so don't mess with that. And then the last one, this is kind of the same thing. It's getting information from the enum, but yeah, it's just making sure that you can repair the sword. So that is basically it for the items themselves. We need to add the swords in, but we'll do that in a moment.